have to say, I never thought she was dead. Did you?
I thought she was dead.
Did you?
I didn't even consider that she might not be. That's so interesting. Welcome back to Straight Up Book Club. Today we're going to be talking about First Lie Wins by Ashley Easton. Not Easton.
Elston. You're thinking Bret Easton.
Oh my god. It is like a Bret
Easton? The guy who wrote
Ellis? There's a middle name in there, isn't there?
Easton Ellis. Ah!
Easton Ellis?
Isn't it?
There we go.
That's why you said...
That's why it's so confusing.
It is giving American Psycho.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Okay. I'll try that again. We can leave all of it in. So we're talking about First Lie Wins by Ashley Elston, and we're talking about the second half today. So much has happened.
So much. And again, I feel like last time, I'm going to have difficulty remembering everything. So jump in at any point as I try to summarize. And then also just jump in when you want to chat, because that's what this is about.
Sounds good. All right. Where are we now?
Okay. So in our last one, we kind of end when she's being handcuffed and she's taken away. And so she's in the situation now where, you know, she might be going to jail for presumably the murder of this Amy Holder character. We also get a little bit more information on her past life with the Andrew Marshall case, the politician that she had kind of set up for Mr. Smith in an incriminating scene to take photos of for blackmail. But then she kind of gives him the heads up, and Mr. Smith finds out about this and he's not very happy. Yeah. And how exactly did he react when he found out that she had kind of let him go or let him off easy? What exactly did he say to her?
He was angry about it. But it sounded like he also understood that maybe it was her plan was better. And I don't know, the way this played out though, it was very especially with all the deliveries that are happening and all of that. I was just this is too cool. You know, this is that montage moment where you're seeing all of this, these deliveries happen. And I was honestly, I was a little annoyed by this particular moment. But what did you think of it?
I agree about the montage bit. I feel this entire book would need a ton of montage in order for it to even work, because there's just so much happening. But you're right. It's very much a doing this thing. Just kidding. But we're doing it this way because my idea is better. And then you kind of go back and then show how she did it her way. And I can definitely, it's giving a lot of Secret Identity movies. We kind of mentioned a couple of them last time, but I don't know, there's a lot more that spring to surface as we talk about it. And I agree, it was a little on the nose, but I think that also showed her character in regards to her being okay with bending the rules in order to, you know, do something that's good for her.
Yeah,
which is interesting because she has a lot of moments that are very selfish, but then also a lot of moments that are very naive, I guess. Selfish wasn't the right word, sorry. She has a lot of moments that are very highly attentive to detail, very aware of everything that's going on, even more so than the conductor of all of this. I keep thinking of Mr. Smith as this conductor. And then she has these other moments of oh, but I'm in love with him, and then I missed the the text. So that was kind of interesting that she did kind of outsmart Mr. Smith in that moment a little bit. Because she still got, we think at first that she still got what she was supposed to get, but didn't she kind of let Andrew Marshall off on the hook a bit? Or
she did. Yeah. And that's a great point, because that also comes up with the coach job, right? Because it's she
Mitch,
has this moment where she needs to go tell the athlete this piece of advice or whatever, she needs to pull him away, and in the end it helps her because she learns a little bit more about the job in that way, but the job is over at this point. But you're right, she just has this she's not restrained in those moments, right? She's letting it get to her and letting her emotions get in the way.
Now that you said that, she kind of lets that happen in every case that she's on. And in some ways it like does work out in her favor, and then as we find out later on in the rest of this book that like it doesn't, well, I guess it does, but there are moments when it doesn't work out in her favor. And then we get into the moment where she is I can't remember, she has to like go to Atlanta to be this material witness for Amy Holder's murder. And so that's when she brings on Rachel to be her like lawyer, and which is interesting because it's Ryan's friend.
Wait, is she a material witness, or is she just like charged with Amy's murder?
No, they keep, okay, this is my issue. They keep calling her a material witness in the case of Amy Holder's death. What's the difference between a material witness and a witness? And how can you get arrested for that?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah. There were a couple of pieces in this book where I was just like, I don't know, there's something about this that just doesn't feel right. And sorry, quick tangent, but even the way she like communicates with Devin is like
the posts.
I don't think like Instagram or Facebook works like that. Like I wouldn't see all of your comments, or like
you would have to go searching for them.
Yeah.
So you'd have to go on, which I do think she was doing. She would like go. So I think the way I read it was that she only followed like 10 or 15 accounts, which is sus.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing. No, I agree. It's like, okay, so you're not being super discreet. You follow 10 random places that are they're all locations in the neighborhood. Yeah. And like you're commenting like numbers and stuff. Like, you have Devin who's able to like hack into laundry rooms in these like multi-millionaire places, and yet Mr. Smith can't figure out that you're posting like comments in one of the 10 places that you follow. Did I miss something?
No, like how is it that she can always decipher what he's saying when he, like it's kind of nonsense. Like what, like
yeah.
If you, I don't know, like as the person writing it, you know what you mean. I don't believe that the person reading it always knows what they mean. How many times have there been misunderstandings and they went to the wrong place? Like,
no, that's for sure. Because there's like numbers, and I know the numbers were supposed to be like they had a list of locations of like, let's say 12 places, and then whatever the number they posted in that was. No, that doesn't make sense. I don't know.
Yeah, it's giving like 90s hackers, and also just like, yeah.
There were moments when it kind of reminded me of like, those sci-fi movies where like, and then this doohickey thingamabob, and I'm there like, I have to look up what this is. And my partner's like, it's not a real thing. It's made up for this movie. And I'm like, no, but it must be real. I can't buy this plot line if this thing isn't real. So I definitely had moments where I was like, this isn't making sense to me. Yeah. I felt a little dumb reading this book. Sorry, this is a tangent.
But that's like that's what those like spy, what's the genre? Secret identity like movies make you feel. You're like, oh, everyone's so cool and everyone's so slick and everyone's a hacker.
I mean dumb in the sense that like I didn't understand what was going on. Like, I feel like I can like sit down and watch. I'm realizing this about myself. If someone out there understands what this means, please tell me. I can sit down and watch an action movie and I can take it all in and I can walk away and go, great, I understand what's going on. I was reading this book and I'd be like, wait, what just happened? And then I'd have to go back and reread it. And then I'd like get a little further and I was like, what just happened? I felt like I was hiking Mount Everest. Not that I've done that. What I've heard is
not again.
I told you to stop. 1 out of 10 people die climbing.
Heather, it's a problem at this point.
Oh my god, I'm dying. What I've heard, it's any kind of acclimatizing where it's like, okay, yeah, you climb 10 steps and then you go back 5 and then you climb 10 and you go back 5 and you're always just like, am I ever gonna finish? That's how I felt about this book. I felt it took me so long to read. I felt my mind drifting so often, and I'd be like, wait, I didn't retain any of this, because it's so many names that you've never recounted before.
Yeah.
And I do truly believe that this is a genre that some people like thrive in regards to as a reader. Like, I think there are some people out there who it's like, this is my jam. I can sit there and I can binge this. And I really struggled. Not that I didn't like it. I did once I finished and understood everything that was going on. But I just felt like when a book is so action, 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 I just have a hard time following it.
Yeah, yeah. I think you're right. And I think there's something to be said about the format. Like, personally, for me, I'm more used to, for this genre, watching it, and it's like easier to follow.
Yes. Because you see the people, you get faces with the names.
Yeah, exactly. It's a little bit harder to follow here, especially with all the flashbacks, right? Like the flashbacks work better visually. So I can see that for sure.
I almost wanted like a little bit of a, you know, in some books, you'll have that table at the beginning that's like, this person's name and this is who they are. Like I almost craved that a little bit. Okay. Evie was brought in as a material witness for like Amy Holder's death. And then she's supposed to go to Atlanta, and the whole time she keeps making like, Ryan somehow convinces her to like come with him, even though she doesn't really trust Ryan at this point. I can't remember why, but there's like something sus, and she's kind of like, oh, I don't know, I have to like keep him on my radar. And they're on their way to Atlanta, and they stop in like Tennessee, and they stop in a bunch of different places. They go to like a university where she goes and approaches like the politician from before, and she inserts a camera on his rocking chair in order to like get a reaction out of him, and somehow that triggers more information for her. And I don't even remember what the information was, but it leads her down this like rabbit trail of eventually, like, she's now trying to figure out who Mr. Smith is, we discover as she's on her way to Atlanta. And in doing so, she's in the hotel one night, and while she's at the hotel, she overhears Ryan with George. And now George doesn't make a lot of FaceTime. He's there every now and then as someone who delivers packages to Evie. And they kind of have a little bit of like a flirtatious banter where she's kind of like, will I ever see you outside of your uniform? And he's like, maybe if you take me for a drink. Like that kind of playful thing. And
he's the only other constant in her life, right?
Yes.
Like other than Devin. And it's weird, like they're almost like in competition with each other. Like later we find out that they're trying to keep tabs on each other and stuff like that.
But we see George way less than Devin.
Yeah.
Like it's like every now and then he delivers a package.
What did you think of that moment where like George and Ryan are like at the hotel? Like that was such a bombshell for me. I was like, what is going on?
I felt validated because I was like, Ryan is the other is out to get her. I was like, yes. And then I find out I'm wrong, and he is fine, like not predicted. He was just a pawn in Mr. Smith's game. And then we find out that George is actually Mr. Smith. Like there's a whole like run around to figure this out. But essentially it comes to fruition because Evie does eventually go to Atlanta, and she brings Mr. Smith, back up. Evie goes to Atlanta with George, has been summoned to like go to the safety deposit box with her because apparently there's something there tying her to Amy Holder, and she has to go, even though, I'll back up for a second. She is acquitted, not acquitted, but the detectives presume that she's innocent in the case of Amy Holder's death because one, she says that Luca Marino is the one who killed her when they bring up photographic evidence of her like being near Amy Holder during her death. And then obviously the whole Mr. Smith plan to have a woman who looks exactly like her backfires because she's able to use this identity as the real person who killed Amy Holder. So, and then she calls her like friend who is in the Atlanta Falcons to make like a guest appearance on a FaceTime with the detectives to be like, no, she was at my place. What did you think? Was that not like Mega Cheeseball when it was like, hey, yeah, she was at my place this night? Okay, sorry. This is a tangent. Did you find a lot of the lies had too much backstory, so it felt like the typical like the more you explain the more suspicious you seem?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Yeah,
you know, like if someone asked me where I was, what was this, like 4 years ago, more, like, were you with, I don't know, your sister? I'd be like, maybe, probably. I don't remember. It was years ago. They bring this up in the Serial podcast when there was this whole the whole conspiracy against Adnan and the fact that he like killed this woman because nobody could remember where they were. She's like, Sarah Koenig, the host, was like, this was like 10 years ago. Can you remember what you were doing 10 years ago? Or even, it was not 10 years ago. I think it was a year. This was like a year ago. Do you remember what you were doing then? I don't.
No.
July 26th.
That's such a great point because, like, yeah, this, like, athlete is like, oh, yeah, her and my wife got into this bottle of wine and all of that, all of those details. And it's like, yeah, you're right. Like, I didn't pick up on that until you just mentioned it. But, yeah, that's a lot of details for, like, a while ago.
I would be sus.
Yeah.
Now, mind you, if it was like one of my favorite football players who was telling me this and I was just starstruck, maybe I'd buy it a little bit faster. But
yeah,
I don't know. I was like, why is this guy recounting this thing from 4 years ago where he's like, oh, yeah, I specifically remember because it was the only night that she could come and see my son and she hadn't seen him in a while. And I'm like, dude, stop talking. Just be like, yeah, no, I do remember we were together. And then if they ask questions, answer. But like, you going into that much detail, and I found there were chunks of dialogue where it's like, yes, I can explain this precisely because of X, Y, Z, and it's, I don't know. I'm like, stop, just stop, slow down.
As you're like saying this, like I'm realizing that all of these moments, all of these favors that she's calling in, these are those like moments of morality for her, like with the athlete, like the reason that he feels like he owes her something is that she like helped him with his career at that sort of pivotal point. Same with this politician. She like helped him out of a really tough spot and now he has a career because of that. And so do you think it's almost like, oh, like she's, you know, she's playing the nice girl to like, but it's strategic in those moments?
I think so, because I think there was a moment where she said she had to cash in on all her favors.
Yeah.
So it is like, sure, she's the nice girl, but it is strategic because there's an intent. There's a future use out of these favors. It's transaction based. So I actually respect her more as, not as a human being, but as like a crime. Wait, how do I word it? Like this, like secret Born Identity kind of character. Like I want you to be your character. So yeah, I'm here for it. I do think it was all intentional.
Yeah. Okay. So then that makes me think that, you know, what we're saying, like she doesn't have a lot of self-restraint in these moments and she's letting her emotions get the best of her. Well, maybe it's more tactical than, not more strategic than, first glance.
Yes. No, you're right. In which case I would say the only moment or moments that got to me were, I do believe that her moments with Ryan were real. And I believe that all the more because of that moment where he's talking to George at the vending machine and she has this moment of like holier than thou, where I think I actually wrote it down what she said because it drove me crazy. Oh yeah, it was on page 261. She goes, but he was playing me when I was ready to risk everything for him. Like, girl, no, you weren't. What are you talking about? You were trying to set him up. Like, you had moments where you're like, should I tell him everything? But you never did. He actually told you more. So I had a big problem with that. She felt a little like morally righteous in her relationship with Ryan. Near the end, they obviously, or at the end, I guess they patched things up. But
yeah,
she was definitely a little self-righteous in that relationship.
She did fudge those numbers though for him. So that was the one thing. Like,
what do you mean?
Like she didn't.
Oh, for Mr. Smith.
Yeah.
Right.
Like she like changed them before she handed that those documents over, and I guess like in the end that ends up saving her, like still like retaining Ryan's trust in that way. But also in this moment, I was fully convinced it was Ryan. I thought Ryan was Mr. Smith. I was like, okay, this is like damning. And like there's no like going away from this, and I was like, okay, this is that situation where they're kind of stuck on their road trip and they're like trying to like they're out to get each other sort of thing. So
I thought it was him until I thought it was him until the safety deposit box, or whenever it was when she was like, "You are Mr. Smith" to George. How did you feel about that?
I did not see that coming. I like did not consider George in like a real way. I was like, I totally thought he was like a side character and he was going to continue to be a side character. So I was pleasantly surprised by that. But also, I don't know. I think that I should have seen it coming because I think that is also like a trope. What do you think?
The side guy that nobody ever bats an eyelash at. Yeah, I never saw it coming at all. There were moments when I thought it was Devin because I'm like, that's the most like gut-wrenching. Like the one person who she truly trusts, I was like, okay, it's gonna be Devin, and I would have respected that. I would have been like, yeah. But maybe a lot of people saw that coming. It was definitely the most surprising, but a part of me felt a little bit like, shouldn't he have gotten a bit more FaceTime? Like, we barely saw him. You know, I don't know, but maybe that's just me. I'm not, similar to when we were reading Emily Henry, and I was like, I'm not really used to this genre. I don't think I've read really like a spy thriller before, so maybe I'm just not used to it.
Yeah, me too. Like I didn't really read like the James Bond novels or anything like that, and like yeah, I think a lot of the thrillers we've read similar ones, like lots of like Gillian Flynn, and but yeah, more of the sort of like murdery ones, and less so like, you know, less so like secret identities and everyone's like double crossing each other and things like that.
And to be fair, I feel like, yeah, George did have a lot of moments, and there was that like flirtation between him and Evie, so he should have been on my radar at some point. I do feel like in film format, I'd be able to consume this a little more clearly.
Yeah,
I do kind of want it, like, don't get me wrong, I did like it. I just felt like I struggled a little bit to fully understand what was happening. And maybe that's the point. I don't know. But I do feel like it would translate well to film.
Oh yeah, definitely. I felt like this was almost written in like a really screenplay way. Like there's this moment where everything starts to get like pieced together, and I was just telling you that like Gone Girl is one of my favorite movies, and I recently rewatched it again, and there's this moment where, you know, you flip from Nick's perspective to Amy's perspective, and it just goes right into like telling, like, here's everything I did,
right,
instead of like, we're not slowly unraveling or piecing together things. It's like literally like, you know, like a narrative. And
I love that part in Gone Girl where it like it goes to, I always remember the part with the, I'm like, how did she fake being pregnant? And then it explains with the bathroom scene. I'm like, brilliant.
Yeah. There's something about that visually that works. It doesn't work so much in like written form, I think. And that was one of the things I was struggling with. I just felt like I was being just told a lot instead of like, instead of it being just like placed together.
No, I feel that way. And oh, you know what other book I felt like did that was, did you ever read? Oh my God, we've barely had any wine. I think it's just been a week. Have you ever read, I think it's AJ Flynn's, and I might be saying Flynn because you said Gillian Flynn, but Woman in the Window.
Oh, yeah.
And near the end, it's very like, and I did this and I did that. It felt almost like Scooby-Doo, where it was like, you pull off the mask and it's like, and this is who I was all along. Like, did you not notice? So maybe that is like in touch with this kind of two timing spy thriller. Like maybe that is the nature of this genre, and I'm only used to seeing it in film format. It was also, did you notice it was present tense, which I don't remember if I've ever read a book in present tense before.
Really?
I'm trying to think of, I'm sure I have, but it was like, I definitely noticed it because it just felt like it was a lot of like, and then this and then that and then this and then that. Oh, hi. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Cuddle up.
Oh, you're right. Like, I feel like I didn't even pick up on that.
I kind of want to do a little dive into all the books on my bookshelf to see if there's anything else in present tense. But yeah, and I wonder if that was a little bit of the filmic feeling that it was giving.
I like that, actually.
I do too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Did we miss anything? Oh yeah. So then in the end, what happens? So she finds out that George is Mr. Smith, and she has a favor in the like biggest like mafia ring in the States or something, where essentially Mr. Smith two-timed them, and obviously ideal person to like off someone without any like cops or anyone knowing.
Mm-hmm.
So she notifies them. So the moment that he leaves the bank with a safety deposit box, he's kind of taken away by, am I using the right word by saying mafia?
I don't know if it's the mafia. I don't really know who they were.
Some
really.
sort of, there was a word she used, but I can't remember what it was. anyways, biggest crime families in America, something like that.
Yeah.
So they were able to kind of take him away, and now she's free. There's no more Mr. Smith. Mm-hmm. And it ends with her showing up. She's exhausted. She shows up to like a little cabin where Devin greets her, and then so does Amy Holder,
who's alive this whole time.
I have to say, I never thought she was dead. Did you?
I thought she was dead.
Did you?
I didn't even like consider that she might not be. That's so interesting.
I felt like in every backstory, she always had this moment where she teeters on her, like she doesn't do the thing she's supposed to do because of her like moral compass. Mm-hmm. And so the kind of like how laissez-faire she was about striking the match and then setting the bed on fire and then leaving. I'm like, that's not Evie. Yeah. Evie's here like falling in love with her case. Mm-hmm. She calls, the father of the child that she's, of the family she's trying to frame. Yeah. Not frame, but like get information from. Like she's not the kind of person who kills someone in cold blood. So, and then we were never specific about seeing the body. So it was like Amy Holder's alive. I wasn't sure what the relation was. I wasn't sure if it was a moment of her being like, hey, you go on the run and we'll separate ways forever. I thought it was probably more of that. So I was surprised, I guess. I wasn't surprised, but I thought it was interesting how she brought Amy into her life in this kind of tangential way where she's still a part of it. Like Amy's sister Heather has like a bit of a relationship with Devin, so they're always connected, which is kind of cute. And then Amy ends up taking on the last name of Evie Porter. So they have their own like little relation. Mm-hmm. And then it turns out that Evie is now operating her own little like crime spree where she's referred to as Miss Smith. And her and Ryan are back together and they're doing their own shady stuff. Him with his hauling packages in East Texas and her with her little caseloads. Who knows what she's doing? Probably blackmailing senators and stuff like that. But what did you think of the ending?
It was just a very nice bow at the end, right? Like everything was like really working itself out. Yeah. And again, it happened really quickly.
Yes.
Yeah. And okay, I really enjoyed this book, but those moments I'm like, okay, everything is so neatly placed in all these little boxes and everyone's like happy for now and like, I don't know. Yeah. Don't love that. I like a little bit of like empty space of like what happened, I want to think about that after.
I love a little bit of an open ending. So my mind went to her at home with Ryan, and then something happens where it's like, oh, Ryan actually it does have his own little, I'm still convinced Ryan's Mr. Smith, so I want a little something there. So I wanted there to be like a file that she finds in their home, or like another piece of damning evidence on her that like nobody's ever known about. Like I would have loved that little nugget of
leave it open for a sequel.
Yeah, or like Inception style, leave it open. Like, is he Mr. Smith? Is he not Mr. Smith? Is Evie actually? I would have loved a little nugget. Sorry, I don't mean to be like, no, the book is great. I'm not gonna write the ending, but like fan fiction, Evie has a case on like Devin as blackmail. I don't know, like something where it's like she's actually not pure. Okay, he's done. I don't know. I love a like little. Is this person actually good in the end? So we didn't get that. That's fine. You're right. There was a neat little bow on everything, and everyone's happy. And
everyone's happy.
Louisiana. It's good.
Yeah.
Excited to see the movie.
I'm sure this is going to be a movie or a limited series or something.
We might need the series to like break it all down because I don't know how they're going to fit all that into a movie. Maybe focus on a couple pasts, but
I would watch it. I think that would be very entertaining.
I would too. Yeah. Maybe we'll do, if they do, I feel like they will turn it into a movie. So when they do, maybe we'll do a little like watch party. So this is a wrap of season 2. We're doing
season 3.
Oh my God, sorry. This is a wrap of season 3. We're on season 3.
Season 3.
Oh my God, you're right. Yes. Yeah. Okay. This is a wrap of season 3. So we're gonna take a month off and just enjoy the rest of our summers. We both have big plans coming up in the summer, so we're gonna take some time to focus on that, and then we're gonna be back in September with our first read of season 4.
Season 4. Yeah, these seasons are just flying by.
They are. Season 4 is going to be a little bit different because Nat's moving to LA. So we're going to be doing them remote. We're still going to have our video component involved as well. But it's going to look a little different because we're going to be
we're going to be apart. We're be in different countries.
I'm okay.
Well, we'll try to time it so that we can do a couple of like in-person ones sometime.
I would love that. Yeah, we're going to have
really
visits.
Fun. Yeah.
We'll be ready for in-person ones. But yeah, the majority of them will be remote. So yeah, we'll get to see where Nat is. And then me, will I sit on this couch alone? Will I sit at a desk? Yet to be determined.
Morty will take my spot here.
He'll never take your spot.
Aww.
He'll just keep it warm. So yeah, we haven't decided what we're reading next. So we're going to take a minute to kind of look into that.
Yeah, if there's anything that, you'd like us to talk about or, in the next season, leave a comment. Let us know. We're reading all your comments. We love it when you talk to us.
Yeah. So if there's anything you want to read, let us know. We love suggestions. Any genre we haven't touched on, we're open for the most part. There's some genres that we just can't get into. They're just not for us. But let us know.
Yeah, maybe no. What is it? Court of Thorn and Roses.
I understand that those are really big, and I think that they're some people's cup of tea. I mean, we kind of mentioned earlier that I really struggle with like things that aren't real in books. Movies, love it all day, but books I really struggle.
I'm just laughing because I can never get that name straight.
Court of Thorn and Roses. No, I can't either. Thorn Roses Court.
I know it's very popular, but I don't think it's for me either.
No. So anything but that. No, just kidding. Send some suggestions and we'll decide if we want to read them or not.
All right. Sounds good. Well, we'll see you in the next season.
In the fall. I'm such a fall girly. So as much as I'll miss you, I'll be happy it's fall.
All right. We'll see you next time.
See you at book club.
Bye.
Bye.